Hi, I'm Michael Conger. I'm the Entrepreneurship and Strategy Professor for the Prime Summer Program. In this video, we're going to tackle the big question, what is strategy? To answer this, we'll have to start with some more fundamental questions about the nature of firms and the industries and markets that they operate in. When we talk about strategy, we're talking about the strategy of a firm, or more generally, any organization. So let's start by asking the most fundamental question, why do human organizations exist in the first place? The simplest answer is that there are lots of things that we want to do that can't be done by individual people on their own. We humans do a lot of big and complicated things together, and it's a big part of who we are as a species and how we've become who we are today. Another answer stems from core ideas in the field of economics. Neoclassical economic thinkers often set the stage for their theories by assuming that people interacting with each other would always act rationally and would have access to all the information that they would need to make optimal decisions. Contrary to what you may have heard, economists are humans too. They knew that this isn't what the real world actually looks like, but it was helpful to lay out these assumptions as a kind of clean canvas to make their theories more clear. The field of behavioral economics specifically reverses these assumptions to see how the theories play out in reality that we actually experience. In the real world, people don't always act in a predictably rational way. We don't have anything close to complete information, and even if we did, we would never have the mental energy or time to make sense of it all. So, firms exist to cope with these problems. By working together, organizational behavior becomes more predictable. We start to work toward common goals together, and we pool our knowledge and brain power to help us make sense of the world around us. So we know now that firms exist to help us work together because they help us be far more effective than we would be if we all just did everything on our own. But what is it that firms actually do to make this happen? Firms are a mechanism for two basic strategic functions, creating value and organizing resources. The things a firm does to create value are generally related to its business strategy, and the things that it does to organize resources are related to what we call its corporate strategy. But of course, we know that even firms that create similar kinds of value or organize resources in a similar way don't always do the same things. And some are way more successful at what they do than others. But why is that? Strategy is a big part of the answer. Let's look at the game of American football as an example. Success in this particular sport is often thought of as being primarily about teams that have the best strategy. Looking at this example, we can start to see what strategy is not. Like any kind of organization, football teams that execute well perform better. They build their strength, their speed, their skills, and they practice so that they can execute at the highest possible level. But execution is not strategy. Teams with similarly high levels of execution often have different strategies and perform differently as a result. Planning is also not strategy, and tactics are not strategy. These are all important to the organization's success, but they're things the team does because of their strategy. They're not the strategy itself. Even if you don't know much about American football, you probably already know two offensive strategies that football teams adopt at the most basic level. Some teams focus heavily on running the ball, and some teams focus heavily on passing. Now, if you're a football fan, you know this is a gross oversimplification, but thinking about it this way can help us finally start to answer the question, what is strategy? This is Jay Barney. He's one of the most prominent thinkers in the field of strategy to have weighed in on this question. I think his definition of strategy is the easiest and most comprehensive way to think about what strategy really is. Barney says that strategy fundamentally is about a firm's theory of how it will be successful. In other words, your strategy is what you believe is true about the world around you and how the things you do will affect it. So let's apply Barney's idea to our example of a football team's offensive strategy. He would say that a team adopts one strategy or the other because they have a set of beliefs, a theory, about how and why running or passing focus will help them succeed. A run-focused team may believe that having greater total time of possession of the ball, or being able to cope with bad weather and field conditions, or wearing down a defense with lots of heavy physical contact are the keys to winning games. And they believe that a run-focused strategy can help them do those things. A passing-focused team's theory might be that the things that will help them win games are increasing the tempo of play, making matchups between players be more about speed and athleticism instead of power or strength, and leveraging the skills of a very talented quarterback. And they believe that a pass-focused strategy can help them do all of those things. When a team is committed to one of these strategies, then planning and tactics and execution follow. Designing plays, recruiting players, building a coaching and training staff, and even the culture and identity of the team as a group are all likely to be shaped by the organization's strategy. It's a theory about what you can and should do, and a framework for figuring out how to do it. So, strategy is what explains how and why firms do the things they do to try to be successful. Strategy isn't planning, execution, or tactics. It's about how and why they think the things they do will make them succeed. In the next video, we'll dig into several theories of the firm, the overarching framework for all major schools of thought in the field of strategy. There are many of these theories of the firm, and we'll take a whirlwind tour of 4 of them to see how each tries to answer another big question: what really matters in strategy? See you then. Hey, the stuff we cover in this video is based on the work and ideas of a lot of really great researchers and practitioners. Links to some of their work are included in the description below, and they're also on the Course Canvas site if you want to go a little deeper. And of course, I'm always happy to talk with you anytime. The easiest way to get in touch with me is through my website, profconger.com.